This happened 3 years ago. I was then living in a small city in Romania. It was summer. Me and my friend Andrew, both age 18 then, used to play basketball at an outside basketball hoop in our town. We were playing for a long time there, so we started to know everybody that was coming there. One day, a new guy came to the court. He was rather short with short blonde hair and blue eyes. One thing I noticed about him was a scar on his forehead. He shyly asked us, "Do you guys want to play horse?" For those who don't know, horse is a game of basketball that can be played in more than 2 players, but I won't enter in any more details because it has no relevance at all for the story. We finished the game with Andrew in first place, me on the second, and the other guy last. He then asked for our names and said his name was Alex. He asked for our phone numbers and Facebook. He seemed like a nice guy, so we hoped to see him again there. It wasn't until that midnight when I started to believe there was something wrong with Alex. I was woken up by a text message on my phone. It was from a number I didn't have in my agenda, and it said, "Hey, want to play some basketball? I'm at the hoop. Alex." I was so angry then, as I just wanted to sleep, so I ignored the text message. 15 minutes later, I get another message. "Hello." I ignored it again, but 5 minutes later my phone rang. I picked up, and a voice on the other end said to me, "Are you sleeping?" It was Alex. I tried not to seem angry, so I jokingly said, "I was." "Come outside," he said. At that point I was starting to become really annoyed. I shouted at him, "It's the frickin' middle of the night," and hung up. The next day I told Andrew about what happened last night, and he told me something that really freaked me out. He also got text messages from Alex, but he also heard a silent knock on his window. He looked outside, but he saw nothing. He said that maybe it was just his mind playing tricks on him. We told each other that he might have just followed us home after that game of basketball. He was maybe jokingly playing with us. We wanted to call him that day, but eventually forgot about the story. That night around 2 a.m., I got a text from Alex, "Come outside." I texted him back with a "no" and put my phone on silent. I fell asleep again. When I woke up that morning and opened my phone, I saw that I received another 20 messages from Alex. This time they were not text messages, but photos on Facebook Messenger, as we were friends on Facebook. The first 2 were photos of the hoop, then the next 2 were selfies of him. But what I saw next had me completely shocked. There were pictures taken outside of my house. In one of them I could see myself watching TV. There was another with me brushing my teeth, another one of me looking at my phone. But then there were other ones, even worse. I saw photos of Andrew's house, and then another one of Andrew fighting Alex in his own yard. Then there was a photo of Andrew blacked out with Alex on his right side smiling, and another guy on his left side smiling too. I immediately called Andrew. His mother picked up. She told me that Andrew was in the hospital, and that Alex was not found yet by the police. Andrew was taking out the trash that night at around 10 p.m. when he was attacked by Alex and his friend. Andrew's mother heard nothing outside, but after 10 minutes of her son not returning home, she went into the yard. Andrew was laying there on his back. She called the ambulance, then the police. Andrew couldn't remember anything. That night, me and my family slept at my uncle's house. In the middle of the night, my phone rang. I didn't know the number, and so I knew I shouldn't pick up. But then my father told me it could be Alex, and so the police could track him down. I answered it. It was Alex. "You are going to die." I asked him why he's doing this, and he replied, "Because you're ignoring me." He then started shouting at me, "I deserve attention, you stupid fuck." He then hung up. In this time, my dad was on the phone with the police. I then received another photo of my house from Alex. My dad gave the police our home address, and so Alex and his friend got caught by the police. It seems like he had some mental problems, so I hope he's getting full medical attention now. His friend was a homeless man who received money from Alex to attack me and my friend. Andrew was getting better and better, and soon left the hospital. We told each other to never play ball on that hoop again. This is the story of the worst thing that ever happened to me. It's the story of how a dream come true turned into a nightmare. Of how some of the sweetest memories of my life turned into the darkest, most humiliating experience of my entire life. I'm only young, 19, and I know I have a lot of life to live ahead of me, but I don't think anything will be quite as destructive to my psyche as what happened one summer when I was 16 years old. I used to play all-girl lacrosse in school. I noticed that in the US it's mostly a male sport, which is kind of crazy, because over here in the UK, at the school I went to, it was a girls' sport. And like with the boys in the States, lacrosse can get really, really bloody intense. Girls get their teeth knocked out with sticks sometimes, their knees smashed, their shins bruised up and down with horrible yellow-purple bruises. It really does get brutal as hell sometimes, but I loved it. It was like the highlight of my entire week, because I was so damn good at it too. I made it onto the girls' first 11, toured the north of the UK playing different schools. We entered a tournament when I was 16, got all the way to the regional finals, and we actually won too. But it wasn't the perfect little story you might expect, because something happened that ruined my entire school life. Scores are neck and neck in the final minutes. Adrenaline is surging. I'm so exhausted I feel like my lungs are about to explode. My thighs are killing me, but I keep going. I keep pushing. I remember stopping for a moment, feeling like I was about to throw up from exertion, and I saw my big brother at pitch side. My ears were actually ringing. I felt like death warmed up, but the look in his eyes, like he was angry and proud and loving and supportive all at once. I couldn't hear him really. There were so many people shouting, but I kinda just knew. Don't give up, Rosie. Don't ever, ever give up. And then all of a sudden, I could run again. I felt like I could run, and the next thing I know, this pass came in from left field, bounces. I net it, burst forward, and shoot. Only as I do, the defender kind of trips over my legs. I fall, she falls, but the ball hits home. The goalie had no chance. It was like a frickin' rocket. And that was that. We'd won. I'd won it for us. The entire game, the entire tour. I was the hero. The actual bloody hero. There was like 20 seconds of ball left, but it was no good. There was no coming back for the other team. And when the final whistle went, it was like an explosion of happiness. Our coach ran on, hugged me, tears in his eyes, and that made me cry too. But the whole time this is going on, the girl that had fallen hadn't gone up. Their coach was fuming that we just carried the last part of the game on without seeing to her. She was rolling around in the dirt, and you could tell she was in loads of pain. Turns out she'd broken something. Actually a pretty bad break too. Like she'd have a double-jointed thumb for the rest of her life. But I didn't care. I'm sorry, I know that sounds horrible, but I couldn't. Lacrosse gets rough. That's just how it is. Anyway, like a week later, I get this Facebook friend request. It's from this absolutely drop-dead gorgeous guy. I mean, he was like heartthrob level gorgeous, and he was from a school on the other side of the city. I accepted the request, half out of curiosity, half so I could just fawn over the pictures of him on there. But then he drops me this message like, I saw you win that lacrosse game. I was there to watch my cousin play, and I'd love to take you out sometime. You were absolutely amazing. Blah, blah, blah. I swear I blushed so hard I thought my face was gonna burst. I tried to be cool about it, told him we should chat for a little bit first before we decide on anything. And we did. And it was lovely. He was such a nice guy. Not like a nice guy, but proper, actually genuine. Point being, we chatted and ended up swapping some kind of raunchy photos. Now, I'm not stupid, or at least not too stupid, because I sent them, waited until I got the scene notification, then deleted them, so he could, see them but not keep them. Then he just disappears. The Facebook account blocks me, the number on WhatsApp blocks me. He ghosted. Hard. I felt stupid, putting so much faith in this boy who just turned around and straight up blocked me, like I meant nothing to him. He had some really nice chats too, about family life, about school. He really seemed to really get me, but it was a lie, because the next week in school, everyone laughed at me, all the girls anyway, while loads of the lads were like, "Alright, Rosie, how's it going? Up to much this weekend?" I didn't get it at all this attention for some reason. Then I get told only my close mate had it in her to tell me what the deal was. Someone had sent all those underwear shots I'd taken and sent to Facebook boy to like everyone in our school, even my mates. They had come from some boy's account, one that had been deleted not long after. He hadn't blocked me, he'd straight up deleted them. It was horrible. I don't want to go into detail about what happened next, but it ended up with my parents getting called into the school, and within the space of about a fortnight, I'd gone from the highest I'd ever been in my life to the absolute lowest. I ended up leaving that school to do my GCSE exam somewhere else, but I just couldn't focus. I failed them miserably, mainly because of the stress. The girl who broke her hand or whatever ended up messaging me on Messenger, saying something like ha 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 ha, but nothing else. And it was only then that I got an idea that it might have been her that orchestrated the whole thing. I ended up going to a sixth form college that helped people reset their GCSEs. Weird setup, I know, but it gave me the space to be able to think properly and get over what had happened involving the photos. I passed them in the end and got my life back on track, but the whole thing was just a knockout blow to that stage of my life. I was like a full year behind everyone else, and that was super humiliating for a girl like me, who had been a star pupil at one point. I feel a bit better having just written this whole thing out. I know it was dead long, and I'm sorry, but if you take anything away from this, and it helps you too, then I suppose it's worth the effort. I grew up in the late 90s, early 2000s. I spent a lot of time outside and I loved all animals, including bugs, frogs, and lizards, etc. My little brother played a lot of sports, so on weekends, I was always dragged to his games, and after school, I often had to attend his practices. It was soccer season, and I had to go with my mom to one of my brother's soccer practices after school on this day. I'm a female, and I was probably 8 or 9 at the time. It was a local park surrounded by some wilderness and some hiking trails. I liked this park because off to the side of the soccer fields was a creek with frogs and stuff. I'd love to go over there and look at them and try to catch them. It was evening time, and the sun was setting, but there was still plenty of light left. I told my mom I was going to go down to the creek to catch frogs. It was down the hill slightly from the fields and obscured by some bushes and shrubs, but there was a clear dirt trail that ran along the side of the creek. So I scurried on down there and was carefully studying the creek looking for frogs, when suddenly a man's voice startles me. "What you looking for?" I look up and see a middle-aged man dressed in typical office or business wear, button-up shirt, slacks, dress shoes. He was standing on the trail, blocking my route back up to the soccer fields, looking at me and smiling. I was a shy and cautious child, so I just looked at the man and didn't reply at first. My spidey senses were already tingling, and I remember feeling nervous and uneasy. I sometimes saw hikers on the trail by the creek, but his outfit and appearance told me this wasn't a hiker. He then asked me, "Are you looking for butterflies? I saw some down there," as he points further down the trail, away from the soccer fields. I just said no and started looking around at what my options were. I felt the need to get out of there fast, but as I mentioned, he was standing on the trail, which was my route back to the fields. There were thick bushes on the hillside between the trail and where the fields were. I started making my way up the rocks to the side of the creek, towards the trail, further down from where he stood, and to my alarm, he started moving down the trail toward me. "Need some help?" he said. I was now starting to panic. Although nothing had happened and he seemed friendly, it just felt wrong to me. I just got stranger danger vibes. I remember feeling a burst of adrenaline and fear. I shouted, "No!" and booked it up the rocks, across the trail, and crashed my way through the bushes towards the soccer fields. I remember the branches scratching me, but I didn't care. I literally scrambled my way through them till I came up to the fields, and then sprinted to where my mom was, watching my brothers practice. I probably looked like hell, so she of course asked what the heck happened, and I told her. I felt like she thought I was just being paranoid though. I'll never know if this guy posed a real threat or not. He could have been just getting some fresh air on his way home from work. Who knows? I just know it felt creepy at the time.